Hello and welcome. You're watching The Big Fight, a show that is not 24 years old but young at 24. It's the oldest running debate show on Indian news television. I'm Sanjay. Now, two things happened last week and the all too familiar conversation has begun yet again. First of all, journalists detained, questioned, later released in the Newsclick matter by the Enforcement Directorate. And then a day later, Sanjay Singh, Aam Aadmi Party leader, Aam Aadmi Party MP, arrested in the liquor scam case. While all of this is happening, the investigation is still on. One of the things being said is, number one, it's an ongoing investigation. These are the merits of the investigation. One can accept all of that. It is the duty of an investigation agency to investigate, find if there is something wrong, present the evidence, and then the courts will eventually decide whether the person is guilty or not. The other conversation is political. That is this yet another example of the government using agencies to exact something. Now, it is that argument which has now, among the opposition, gained more traction. You know of parties like the JDU, the RJD, who are now saying that the government wanted to manage the headlines. They wanted the focus to move away from the caste census debate, the survey that was done in Bihar, which is why you see these arrests taking place. So on The Big Fight tonight, the question that we ask will be on your screen right now. ED raids and the arrest of Sanjay Singh. Are these genuine probes? Or is this a case of political propaganda? Let me introduce our guests one by one. In the studio, we have Mr. Desh Chatan Nigam. He's an advocate of the Supreme Court and a political analyst. Thank you very much. Sanjay Singh, senior journalist in the studio. Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for joining us. Aarti Jairath is a senior journalist in the studio with us. Vinod Agnihotri, consulting editor of Amar Ujala. Nalini Singh is a senior journalist. Thank you very much for joining us. Sajjan Kumar is a political analyst in the studio with us. Ashwini Dubey is a senior advocate from the Supreme Court, and Shahdan Farasat, also an advocate in the Supreme Court. Thank you very much, all of you all, for joining us. It's an important discussion, and for a reason, we have kept the politicians out of this big fight, because you know how that happens. So for political analysts and lawyers to assess this situation, and also, how do they look at this allegation of many of these raids happening as a headline management exercise, or, as there is another allegation, very close to certain elections? You know that in the next couple of months is 5 state assembly elections, and then there will be, of course, the big contest in 2024. Not very many months left for that either. Let's start with a round that is called the first punch, where each of you panelists get 1 minute of uninterrupted time for your opening comments. Ms. Nalini Singh, your time begins now.
Thank you very much. Sanket, the corrupt must be identified, investigated and punished as per law. But if you find that over 95% of those who are accused are either opposition politicians or opposition parties, then it absolutely must raise a red flag about the hollowing out of our institutions, our important investigative institutes, the ED, the CBI, the income tax, and if we're relevant, the IB. The question is that this is not only lethal for democracy, but for the common citizen. Also, extremely disturbing is what happened and what the Supreme Court pointed out yesterday, from what is available, that they are saying that if there is an accused turned approver, his statement is taken as fact in the PMLA. And then this is advanced as something which is now to be acted upon. But the Supreme Court has said that unless the money trail is in the pocket of somebody, how are you doing this? Which means actually that we are letting the standards of what the Supreme Court is not. But the question is, how come when the Supreme Court has raised such a commonsensical question, how did the lower courts, with great respect, miss this? And that's a very sinister question.
Sure, sure. Mr. Sanjay Singh.
I think there are two different issues. The Newsclick issue and the arrest of Sanjay Singh.
Sure.
In Newsclick issue, I think journalists were not detained. They was called for questioning, and they were let go after that. And yesterday again they were called for questioning. The arrest and subsequent charges that have been leveled, that is against founder, editor and one of their staffers, and also there are a whole lot of other things which agency says they're credible evidence and against which the case was lodged. About Sanjay Singh, the CBI court had yesterday, while sending him to police custody, has actually said there is prima facie evidence that there is and corroborative evidence, whatever the investigative agencies have provided, they make a substantive case, and therefore he was sent to police remand. As for political argument about that, every year we have one cycle of election or two cycle of election. Even after parliamentary election, there would be some state assembly elections. Linking to any raid by investigative agencies and arrest and filing of case to election, I think that has become habit of
also the allegation
class.
of headline management. That's the point. I'll come back to you. You can go.
Just 5 seconds about caste census. People who are affected by caste census or want caste census, they are not going to be electorate. Ultimately, does not decide about what we talk in studios, what we write in newspapers, and what are the headlines.
Sure, Sajjan Kumar.
Yeah, see, there are, as I said, two ways. There are perceptions and there are realities. Now, in perception, the charge against the ED, that why it is so hyperactive and wherein selectively against the politicians belonging to the opposition party. First, the ED data itself says that of all the cases under its purview, only 3% belongs or pertains to the politicians. And therein, so this is first case that we are finding an investigative agency like ED is quite active, and therein 97% cases are outside the purview of the politicians. This is one. Second, one should raise the question that why BJP ruled state and BJP politicians are not coming under the radar of the ED, but that should not be used as an excuse to exonerate or to give some sort of, cover fire to the politician and political parties who are accused. Third, we should also remember that unlike so many other IPC and other convicts and accused, in ED the accused persons are powerful parties in terms of resources and access, and therefore we think we should have some sort of faith in our investigative agencies. Elections comes and go, and I don't think that the pace of conviction or the rates have increased. It has been going in the last 7, 8, 9 years.
Okay. Mr. Agnihotra.
Sanket, thank you for inviting me in this show. Actually, in every regime, the agencies are used, misused and good used. No exception. Agencies have every right to raid, investigate, where they smell any act of corruption. They have the right, constitutional right, and they should do it. They must do it. And we should encourage their actions if they are doing any drive against the corruption. But that should be fair, transparent, and it should not look like that they are doing the pick and choose system. When agencies they make the raid on certain political leaders, and few leaders who are charged and they have the serious charges registered by the same agencies, and now there is no action against them because they just crossed the line.
They crossed over to the ruling
establishment.
Party. Okay.
Then the perception which my friend Sajjan Kumar is saying become strong in the public. There are pick and chooses.
I think
actions.
this has also been discussed a lot. The charge of washing machine.
One example I would like to quote. There is a Shiv Sena MLA from Shindekut who said it publicly कि भाई मुझे बड़ी अच्छी नींद आती है, अब मुझे किसी एजेंसी का डर नहीं है.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
तो ये महाराष्ट्र
when the Eknath Shinde group
after the
crossed over, correct. Okay.
So every action should be transparent, and this is the responsibility of the agency.
Okay, and that's what fuels this debate and this argument, that it is only one-sided and targeted. The action of the agency. Okay, Mr. Deshathan Nigam.
Sanket, there can be no doubt on the dictum that the agencies have to function impartially, fair and in a transparent manner. That is the backbone of democracy. And unless that happens, that kind of perception building will take place, although reality may be different, as Sajjan Kumar was saying. Now, one thing which is very important out here, as I said, I have always maintained there should be zero tolerance for corruption. And I don't think anybody has any objection to that. Second, there should be no normalization of corruption. Today we are going into the realm where people are normalizing corruption, as in the case of Lalu Prasad Yadav, or some other cases, examples can be given from different sides also, where even a guilty person is being paraded as an innocent, an epitome of honesty. That should never happen in a society. If that happens in a society, there will be a spiraling downtrend of going to the bottom, in a bottomless pit, I would say. And therefore, the important issues which yesterday the Supreme Court raised have to be seen in totality. One, they said, why you have not made Aam Aadmi Party as an accused, where when you are saying the money is going to them, or you have used you've not applied sections of attempt in this particular case.
I think that'll throw open a very interesting topic of discussion, whether political parties can be co-accused in an alleged act of corruption.
Yes,
right?
they can.
We'll come to that in just a short moment. Ms. Aarti Jairat.
Sanket, I think I completely agree with Deshatan Nigamji that there has to be zero tolerance for corruption, and investigative agencies should have a free hand in following any charges that may come their way and so on. However, as we have seen both in the Newsclick case and in the case of Manish Sisodia, for instance, and I'm only going by the reports I'm reading in the papers, the comments that the courts have made, due processes do not seem to have been followed. And I think that is what is really frightening. In the case of Newsclick, for instance, they asked for a copy of the FIR so that they could challenge the FIR. The arrested persons were not even given a copy of the FIR. Now the court has ordered that a copy of the FIR be given to them. So obviously a due process was not followed. In the case of Manish Sisodia, the court has raised this question again, that have you been able to establish the money trail? And it seems that they have not yet been able to establish the money trail. The man has been behind bars since February. It's been what, about 9 months? You still can't find a money trail. You're depending entirely on the statement of somebody who has turned an approver. So this is where doubts start creeping in. When you are not following the letter of the law, you are not following due processes that have been listed out, then doubts start creeping in, whether this is headline management, whether these are politically motivated, are they genuine cases? And I think that's what we need to really be watch out for.
Okay. Shadhan Farasat and Ashwini Dubey. Mr. Farasat, you go first. Opening comments.
Yes, I think what's happening is that the process is being made the punishment by the government. I think the government is very clear. They have used both the sets of special laws, PMLA, to target political opponents and businessmen who don't listen to them or who are in disagreement with them. And they have used UAPA to target activists and dissenters. So I think it's quite clear that these special laws have been regularly used to target people who disagree with the government, and the agencies have been used quite obviously. I think we'll be living in a child's paradise to think that the agencies are functioning independently. Number two, in cases like this, what happens? Now look at Mr. Sisodia's example. Yesterday, after 9 months of custody, 8 months of custody, they don't have the ED cannot produce the elementary basis of connection. And the man, if he comes out in a month or so, let's assume that he was to be granted bail finally, he would have spent 9 months for what? For nothing. For absolutely nothing. For a trumped up charge, effectively. Same bill, Mr. Sanjay Singh has also been roped into the same case. The ladder will take trial court, high court and the Supreme Court will take some. I agree with Nalini ji that why are the trial courts and the high courts not taking action in this? Why are these points not being noticed by them? Why does it take 7 months for the matter all the way to come to Supreme
Mr.
Court?
Farasat, I'll come back to you. 1 minute time is up. Ashwini Dubey, your comment.
Sanketji, I segregate in two parts. One, so far as the legality, applicability, and the powers confined in the Act and upheld by the Supreme Court, 3 judges bench, and later on, as Aarti ji said, that the to provide the grounds of arrest and FIR. That's altogether a different thing. Now the question here is, when you are probing a Hawala system, you are probing a proximate link by virtue of which you are going to catch the corrupt whosoever have taken money, or by Hawala system, by business involving cash intensive, round tripping, shell companies, real estate, fake invoicing, gambling, or whatever these actions has been provided in the PMLA Act. Whether the courts are silent over that, because we live in a country where rule of law is supreme. Because we live in a country where law is supreme. So does anyone have challenge that the process adopted by the enforcement directorate or any other agency, if contrary to the law? This is one.
Okay.
Second, so far as the statement made during an argument by a court has not to be seen in the light of the judgment, because unless and until the judgment delivered by the court saying that falsely somebody has been implicated in this case, the case run between the accused, the proximate link, prima facie case. And granting bail does not mean that the person has been absolved from the liability. So this is true. And third is that there is a law which has been used and misused and abused by the political masters in order to gain some political motives, political benefits, that also courts look into. So just coming and abusing the agency.
Okay, I think since a legal argument has been made, Shadhan Farasat, would you like to respond? Everybody has had their opening comments done. Yes, your response to what Mr. Dubey is saying. That any political misuse is also in the purview of the courts. That's the argument that he has made.
Correct. So you see, there is a pattern. The problem which happens is cases go individually to court, right? Now, so at any given point in time, a trial court or a high court, or in most cases, Supreme Court is looking at one given case. Therefore, it is impossible in that one given case for the court to then examine a pattern of misuse. But it's obvious to the public. It's obvious to us who see it every day, day in, day out. In fact, there's a fit case for the Supreme Court, in my view, to hear a PIL on these matters and see how it's being misused. Somebody said only 3% of cases deal with politicians of ED. Maybe that's correct. But out of that 3%, let us take it, that's 30 people. Out of that 30%, if 27 are from the opposition, what does that say? That in case of all these cases are high profile, who's bothered about the smaller cases which ED prosecutes or does not prosecute? The ones they really are keen on and they actually go ahead and target people are the ones with the political cases. And in that, if 95% of the cases are of the political opposition, what does that say about the agency? That it's completely biased, it's obviously functioning at the behest of somebody else.
Okay, Mr. Deshatan Nigam, would you like to respond to this?
Certainly. I think if anybody makes far-reaching statements, they fall in the speculative realm. You're being purely speculative. It is being presuming for the sake of argument that out of 25 cases, 24 convictions have taken place. Earlier also, the same kind of speculation was done. However, conviction has taken place. So therefore, at this stage...
Oh, by the way, the Enforcement Directorate's conviction rate is also pretty low.
No, it is not. It is not. See,
no, there are more than enough newspaper write-ups that talk about it being 1%.
See, that is why I am trying. Let me clarify once again.
Out of the cases wherein the trials have been completed, one case there has been discharged, 24 cases there has been conviction. So out of the completed, trials wherein were completed, conviction rate is 96%.
I'm talking about all the cases with
Let me tell you. Again, let me clarify. Let me clarify. Now, if we follow the finding of conviction rate from the cases which has been filed and registered, and then if you take out the conviction rate will be fallacious. Why? Let me tell you. The same case will result into two conviction rates. One, it will give one conviction rate from if you take it in the registered case. Once if it is concluded, the final outcome of conviction comes out or the person is left acquitted, then the two conviction rates will come.
No, I don't understand this argument. Once a case has been registered...
Let me answer, clarify.
Once the case has been registered...
Let me clarify.
For a common public, these are the number of cases in the purview of the Enforcement Directorate.
Answer that.
Of these cases, the conviction rate is 1%.
Let me answer that. Why that is a fallacious rate? Suppose you have 100 cases which have been registered. 10 cases have been decided, and out of which 8 people have been convicted and 2 have been left out, then it will be 8%. It will be about 80% conviction rate if you take the final conclusion. Now, if you take that first from the 100, it will be 8%. Why it will become? Now, suppose out of those 90 which have not been decided, tomorrow they get convicted, say 10 gets convicted, you will have a different conviction rate.
On that date, no?
Why are we?
No, that date.
Yes,
So the same data
I would-
will give 2 conviction rates.
But
No, I think the point that he is trying to make is that the conviction rate of the ED is not all that poor.
May
No,
I-
it's very
may-
high.
May I just
It's
say, let
very
us
high
concede
because
that.
of the
Let
final
us-
trial conclusion.
Sure.
Let us concede that the ED's conviction rate is pretty substantial. I'm just saying, why are we focusing on the numerics? Sajjanji said that 3% are the ones which are to do with politicians.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when a city sleeps, there's one murder, and that murder is spoken about the next morning. Not that 1 crore 99 lakh people slept peacefully. The point is that the politicians are the ones who are operationalizing democracy in our country, and we are talking about that. And also, if we want to become very simplistic, we can go to numerics. But the point, even in the case of the excise, there is a mystifying spider's web that links so many parties. On the day, on October 3rd, I think, when Dinesh Arora was given approval for becoming an approver, at the same time, one Raghav Mungta, who is the son of a YSR Congress MP, he was also made an approver. And shortly thereafter, within a few hours, Sanjay Singh's questionnaire, the questionnaires were prepared, and his house was raided, questioned for 10 hours, and he was arrested. People do not think, Sanket, that this is a coincidence. There is a web, that is YSR Congress, which is with the ruling party, with BJP. And here is Mr. Dinesh Arora. So what I'm saying is that what the Supreme Court pointed out was enormously important. But at the same time, look at the accusation for Aam Aadmi Party, that they made 30 to 100 crore rupees. They swindled that because they needed the money for Goa and Punjab elections. My question is that much bigger parties are fighting much bigger elections, 4 assembly elections now, national elections in a few months' time. Where is that money coming from? Are we going to now, for how long will we remain stupid and say that's coming from the contributions of all the members, etc.? The question is that are all political parties engaging in hawala and money laundering? This is a question that now we must start answering rather than just going into this.
Who may want to respond to this?
Okay.
Yes.
See, the fact is, there can be no doubt if the political parties are indulging. But then again, it's a speculative thing. If they are indulging, if there is an evidence, it has to be taken to logical conclusion and investigate it, irrespective of which political party is there. But to make a sweeping statement that all political parties are indulging without having any substantial or an iota of proof is stretching it a bit too far. It's going into the wildest region. That cannot be done, because we are doing a debate based on logic, reasoning and evidence. And I would not get into that, because I don't have that privilege without any evidence to make that kind of a sweeping statement. And when you have a zero tolerance for corruption and there is no normalization of corruption, these things become important. And if you have anything, please approach the court. Courts, there are provisions in the court where you can take, if you have some evidence, take it to the court and court order investigation.
Okay, I'm given to believe that Mr. Shadan Farasat wants to come in on that point that you made, Mr. Deshchatan Nigam, about the conviction. Mr. Farasat, would you like to say something?
No, so see, the point really is this. What Mr. Nigam is saying, that look at the overall conviction and overall acquittals and come to a number. Fair enough, no difficulty. That number may be higher than what the other numbers are, which is all cases pending which have not yet concluded trial. That's the point Mr. Nigam is making, if I've understood him correctly. Now, but then why do you need to arrest so many people during trial? Why do you need to, if you basically, when a person, when you convict somebody, then you arrest him, whatever punishment he serves. The point I am making, this in fact reinforces my point, that the process is the punishment. If you take out arrest, This is a way
allow
to
me.
actually intimidate the opposition and the dissenters.
Is
You
that
don't need
the
you don't
motive?
need
Let me
custody.
quickly come back
That's
to the
the
studio.
point.
Mr. Sanjay Singh.
I
Mr.
think-
Sanjay Singh,
I think-
is the process the punishment?
I think that's an argument which needs a kind of a great judicial reform. Till such time somebody is proven to be guilty, you please do not arrest him or her. This process is there for all kinds of prosecution, whatever, wherever police files a charge. Police comes to your place for flimsiest of kind of cases filed against you and makes an arrest. That's a larger debate. The issue here is, to best of my knowledge, YSR Congress is not part of NDA alliance. So therefore, coming to some conclusion.
They're officially not part of the NDA, but they do support. They're very generous in their support
Well,
at the
if you look
center.
at all the
Somebody
support
could
in
be
the
generous.
Rajya Sabha,
Somebody,
etc.
if somebody is not part of India alliance and therefore that political party has a motive and therefore comes into BJP's support, I think that argument
Would you
is
like
kind
to respond?
Of course,
bizarre
absolutely.
argument.
I think
And BJP surely is going to contest
Please,
Andhra
please.
Pradesh
I will-
elections as a opponent to.
Please, may I contest this statement made by our co-panelist that in fact it is not at all, I'm not saying that they are coming to their defense, etc. I'm saying that they are mystifying spider webs. Mr. Dinesh Arora is supposed to have been close to the Aam Aadmi Party. Mr. Raghav Mungta is allegedly, he is certainly the son of a YSR MP, which party is allegedly is soft. If you look at the Rajya Sabha voting pattern, you will see what I mean. But what I'm saying is that if we are doing this, we are allowing money. We are saying, look, so and so made so and so. Question is a broader one. Why are we allowing money to become the lubricant of democracy? He is asking, Mr. Deshathanagam is asking for evidence. One big rally by big leaders could cost up to 15 crore rupees. Kindly tot up how many rallies are going to take place or have taken place and multiply that. And if you have any doubts that, you can go, this is a granular thing. You can see how many tiffin boxes you have to give, how many people you have to bus in, what you will.
Air conditioner,
Air conditioner.
security,
I'm just saying there is.
I think there is a
chairs.
process for
Can we
expenditure
get-
and the kind
banners,
of income that political
Can
party
we get
has.
back
Yeah,
to
there is a-
can we
yeah.
get back to the discussions.
We'll come back to the discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to make one point, which I think we are missing in sort of throwing out figures of conviction rates and so on and so forth. The point is, in a democracy, whatever a government does is not only supposed to follow processes, due processes, and be honorable, the government must be seen to be doing something in a fair and just manner. Not just that it
Agencies,
should.
you mean?
Well,
Yeah.
agencies are government,
Yeah,
isn't
correct.
it? They're not private agencies.
Yes.
They're government agencies. So they must at least be seen to be fair. If they look unfair, then obviously people are going to jump to conclusions, isn't it? And yes, I mean, when you are investigating, you will arrest somebody. This is not another debate, as Sanjay Singh said. They should, when you arrest somebody on a charge, there is a provision for bail. And, if rapists can be let out on bail, if murderers can be let out on bail, then why are we saying that people who are accused of corruption cannot be out on bail while you are conducting your investigation? Why should Manish Sisodia have to spend 8 months in jail, on a corruption charge when rapists and murderers have been are going scot-free on bail? So I mean somewhere, we need to get our ethics right. We need to get our moral values right.
Let me just go across
at the end
to Mr.
of the
Dubey
day, this
to answer
is a
this question.
democracy.
Yeah, Mr. Dubey, would you like to answer this?
You see, Sanket ji, yes. Two aspects. One, if process is the punishment, then that process has been accepted by our courts. Till the time the procedure is changed, one has to follow that process. Now the second, if it is a wrongful malicious prosecution, whether there is a miscarriage of justice, whether officials have been used or they have used the legal process and criminal law to settle the political scores, these all factors are decided when the courts come to the conclusion that somebody has been wrongly implicated. Now the second aspect. So far as the deciding of a case or the conviction rate is concerned, that do not have anything so far as the investigation and process is concerned, the prosecution investigation till the time charge sheet is filed. Why? Because for deciding a conviction, there is a lengthy process. What is the lengthy process? Evidence chain has to be proved. Non-cooperation of some type of accused. Then because of the complexities involved in proving the financial irregularities, like the lengthy trial, the non-completion of investigation in a time-bound manner, then some of the proximate link is in a foreign country. Money has come from the rooted from the foreign country through Hawala. So these are the factors which is to be decided and the proceeds time ultimately.
Okay, before I go to Mr. Deshratan Nigam and Shadhan Farasat and Mr. Dubey, you see one side of this argument about ED's action is the legalese, right? The other is political. And as far as the political arguments, Mr. Agnihotri, one of the things that was mentioned by the RJD and many other leaders was, we carried out a caste-based survey in Bihar. It would have made the central government uncomfortable. They would have had to answer some tough questions on what they are planning to do with a caste census at the central level. And thus, a process has been initiated which the RJD calls and other opposition parties call as headline management. What are your thoughts?
This is a political statement made by RJD and India Alliance because they have to say this. My point is different. I will talk the political dimension of the entire issue.
Yeah.
My friend Deshratan Nigam said that corruption should not be normalized. Similarly, corruption should not be politicalized. Ruling establishment is using corruption as a tool to defame opposition that they are all corrupt people. And the opposition using this corruption issue and playing the victim card. This thing dilute the action against the corruption. I think corruption, let the agencies probe. There is no need कि रूलिंग पार्टी जाए और जाके वो प्रदर्शन करने लगे, सीएम का इस्तीफा मांगने लगे. ये तो मैंने पहली बार देखा. वरना जो पार्टी हमेशा जो है विक्टिम होती थी या जिसका आदमी पकड़ा जाता था वो तो सड़क पे आके प्रदर्शन करती थी. कभी रूलिंग पार्टी नहीं करती थी एजेंसी के समर्थन में. अब एक पार्टी एजेंसी के खिलाफ कर रही है सब प्रदर्शन, एक पार्टी एजेंसी के समर्थन में कर रही है, तो ये प्रेशर एजेंसी पे पड़ेगा कि नहीं पड़ेगा?
Agencies have become the centerpiece.
Centerpiece. And that this pressure, तो ये तो फिर करप्शन के खिलाफ जो मुहिम है जिससे हम सब सहमत हैं वो कमजोर होगी. तो करप्शन should not be normalized and corruption should not be politicalized.
Politicalized.
Can
Yes.
I-
Okay,
can I-
Mr.
can
Sanjay.
I-
Just one moment. Mr. Sajjan Kumar and then Mr. Sanjay Singh.
See, coming to the political aspect besides the legal, one thing, let's for a sec assume that BJP is doing this, and particularly the context is the ensuing elections, assembly as well as the general election. Now, take the example of Aam Aadmi Party. Now, if we have seen a pattern wherever Aam Aadmi Party becomes a factor in cutting, say, a significant percentage of votes, which party is the beneficiary? If Aam Aadmi Party in the couple of years grows, of course, we have seen in Gujarat with 13% Aam Aadmi Party vote, BJP swept election and had a historic win. So, if I am the advisor of BJP and I think about my electoral prospect, I would not like Aam Aadmi Party to go down the drains before because one, it will hamper the electoral prospect of the BJP.
That's interesting.
Two, it will also take away the leverage of Aam Aadmi
argument.
Party to bargain with Congress to have more seats in states wherein it doesn't have any base. So it doesn't. So framing of the narrative of that BJP is doing this vendetta to have electoral prospects in mind doesn't seem a logical conclusion.
Okay, I think there will be a lot of opinion on this. First,
would like
Mr.
to
Sanjay
respond,
Singh.
but let's-
Yes, yes, yes.
That's a very interesting argument.
Do you agree with it or not?
To an extent, yes, and to an extent, no. That would be.
Let's hear the no first.
That would be for some separate other occasion. The caste census thing that you said.
Yes, please.
See, Bihar, the ruling dispensation has nothing else to talk than caste census. I tell you why. For last 27, 28 years, Bihar is ruled by Lalu Yadav, Rabri Yadav and Nitish Kumar and nobody else. And they all
partly
come,
BJP.
They
With Nitish Kumar.
they were partners.
So they were the part of the
They're
ruling
partners,
system.
bhai. There's difference between somebody ruling the state and somebody
You
being
can't spare
partner.
only Lalu, Nitish and
Mr.
Rabdi.
Sushil Modi and Mr.
Modi,
and Nitish were very great friends.
Actually,
Yes,
No,
yes,
Sushil Modi
again
was
OBC,
Deputy
again
Chief
OBC.
Minister.
Chaliye, taken. Sushil Modi
Deputy
again
Chief
OBC.
Minister.
Some beneficial measures, some social developmental schemes, some great policies should have been done in Bihar, so that OBCs and EBC should have come forward. Now with this particular caste census, the debate must go on. Nobody can change headline. You are at your own discretion to suggest or carry on debate on caste or something other, or Sanjay Singh. That is your discretion. The government is not dictating you to change headlines. Remain stuck to caste census. The fact remains that India Alliance has nothing else to talk than coming out with this particular divisive nature. How do you benefit from caste census? Is it going to decide as to which caste person would go to school and who not, and in which area a school should be opened and which area a road should be laid, or in which area water tap should go, or other schemes should go? No. This was something, a diversionary tactic on part of India Alliance. Congress previously had not agreed to it. Now you are saying this is headline management. Prime Minister has spoken about it. Jitni abadi utna haq. And he gave a befitting reply to Rahul Gandhi, which means you are trying to say that Hindu must now have all rights and Muslims should not have those rights.
Okay. Let's quickly come back.
No, I think that's really, misinterpreting and twisting what Rahul Gandhi said. Rahul Gandhi was talking about proportional representation. That doesn't mean that, Muslims get nothing at all and Hindus get everything. So let's not twist
while
his
caste
remarks.
census is one point,
But the point
that
is-
Mr. Sajjan Kumar was making is very interesting. A weak Aam Aadmi Party, it is in the political interest of the BJP to make sure that the Aam Aadmi Party stands up as a front. At least that's a
Okay,
layman's perspective.
so my reply to that is that at the moment is quite an irrelevant argument, because right now Aam Aadmi Party and Congress are together in the India Alliance. Right? And they are supposedly discussing sharing seats, and they're going to contest the elections together. So, having a week, is the BJP going to nuance it so carefully that they will keep the Aam Aadmi Party weak and yet strong, so that they can divide the votes and win an election?
So can I just
come on.
This
is really, carrying election management a bit too far.
Taking up from
I
there.
think at
Is
the
this-
opposite, what the opposition said was not that they're trying to use it for electoral purposes. The opposition said they're using it for headline management, because the government, the BJP, has no answer to the caste census, and therefore they're trying to divert attention from that topic by bringing in corruption. And if, yes, it's true, maybe NDA does not, India has made that into a big issue. What is the BJP doing? The BJP is, hammering the same line that they've been hammering for the last 10 years about dynastic parties, corrupt parties, and the Congress. Have they changed their narrative at all in 10 years? They're also, saying the same thing that they've been saying for 10 years now.
Yeah.
Can I just, but taking up this question of weakening a party and yet making it strong. The classic and the older example is Owaisi's party, is All India Muslimin League. With apologies to Mr. Owaisi, I'm not able to pronounce it well. AIMIM. But what I'm saying is that to gather, to scoop and get the Muslim votes in one place, which would have gone to the Congress, the same way you're saying the Aam Aadmi Party is going to cut into Congress votes, and therefore, so I think that this is a phenomena in Indian politics. The ruling party, the dominant party, does hold out carrots, and it does appear that somebody falls for it. But I think that the more important question is what we were talking about earlier, whether it is in Newsclick or in the question of Sanjay Singh or the others that will come, that if we are not going to call out all political parties and say that you are misusing where you can the agencies and misusing money where you can, then this is not the democracy we want. This is not what we elected you for.
I think the point that was being made that even this argument is in the purview of the courts. So if the courts feel that this is happening, they can weigh in, they can come in. But the point that Shadan was making, maybe we can reintroduce his comment on this point, that arguments present themselves on a case-specific basis in the court and not collectively. Shadan?
Yeah, that's true. And especially in criminal matters, courts are very cautious not to sort of make observation beyond the facts of each case. And therefore, these kind of patterns, which we get to see in the public domain, are not something that courts engage judicially in any matter on a day-to-day basis. Like what we heard in Mr. Sisodia's case from the Supreme Court is dealing with the facts of Mr. Sisodia's case, and it has made certain preliminary observations. Now, will the similar kind of situation may very well arise in 8 to 10 other cases, but those cases are not before the Supreme Court. So how does the Supreme Court make that connect that, oh, this is a pattern, right? And very often what happens is when a case comes, it will go to different bench. It won't go to the same bench. So given the nature of criminal law, given the nature
how do you view the Supreme Court's observation in the M3M case, where it said that the agencies like Enforcement Directorate must not be vindictive?
I think there's only one way. There's only one way how to view it. That it's basically suggesting that they are vindictive and they shouldn't be. I think that's the only one way to. It's a polite way for a court to be saying this is not how you.
Obviously,
carry
it was
out
a different case. It was the M3M
in that given case. But
yeah.
That's true. So from that given case, it sees a certain manner of functioning which is problematic, and it flags that. All I am saying is, if this is a fit case where a pattern should be examined by the higher court, by the Supreme Court, to see what exactly is happening in these cases. I mean, from the public perspective, it's quite obvious whether you are a supporter of a ruling party or opposing it. Either way, I think it's obvious to a person, irrespective of his voting preference, what's happening in this country.
You think that should happen, Aarti Jairath and then Deshatan Nigam? It is obviously in the purview. I mean, the Supreme Court can do anything.
No, absolutely. Listen, firstly, I don't know what the legal process would be for the court to examine whether there is a political pattern that emerges from all these cases. I mean, obviously, the courts look at everything on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. And therefore, they cannot join dots and make a connect, right? But the people of India, who are the eventual deciders in an election, when the time comes to cast their vote, whatever has happened in the preceding months, they will have formed their own opinion. They will have formed their own opinion through tea shop discussions, through TV debates, reading the newspapers, chatter on the roads, what's happening in their families. There are many ways, their community meetings, they form their own opinion. And that opinion will be reflected when they go to cast their votes. And I mean, this is something that every political party must understand, that voters are not fools. You cannot fool them all the time. They see through all your natak, they see through all your drama, and they know exactly what to do when the time comes to cast the vote.
Okay, let's take closing comments. Deshatan Nigam, and we'll finish the round.
The fact remains that, as I said in the beginning, if you add conspiracy charges in the original criminal case, the cognate offence, I think, because if you look at the liquor scam, excise policy scam, it's the same party, same people. Probably they are not working in isolation. If you add conspiracy charges, the individuality of cases will go, and the Supreme Court will be able to apply the wider perspective to the same case, and that has not been done. This brings in the competency of the ED. Now, PMLA is a different case where people talk about bail being a norm and jail an exception. This is the other way around. There are very stringent conditions for the bail here. It's a complete code in itself, where bail is not the norm here, where they have to go into many other questions, and that is why it is different from the IPC and the criminal procedure code. That aspect has to be taken care of. And why Manish Sisodia is behind the bars? Because the destruction of evidence had taken place, 100 mobile phones destructed, laptops, and further destruction could have taken place, witnesses influenced also. That is why he is behind the bars, not for that the entire evidence has come out or not. So these are the aspects which have to be taken into consideration.
Mr. Agnihotri.
I would like to, on the political dimension of the case, again, क्योंकि a lot of things said by Aarti ji, जो मैं respond करना चाह रहा था, इनको काफी कह दिया इन्होंने. Since Gujarat days, Prime Minister Modi has created his image as an honest leader, and he is. And always he talk about the corruption, honesty, integrity, nation first. That is his political plank. And who is the biggest challenger? That Aam Aadmi Party. Arvind Kejriwal. On same way. ईमानदार, मैं कट्टर ईमानदार, तुम देशभक्त, हम कट्टर देशभक्त, तुम राष्ट्रवादी, हम कट्टर राष्ट्रवादी. So my dear friend, that's why to dent the image of Aam Aadmi Party, this is the allegation of the Aam Aadmi Party leaders, because we are challenging on the same plank. Aam Aadmi Party leaders यही तो कहते हैं, क्योंकि हम challenge कर रहे हैं उनको. So that's why they are defaming the Aam Aadmi Party, putting Satyen Jain and
so in a way you are saying
Manish Sisodia and Sanjay Singh
if the charge is that they are Team B, Team B must not aspire to become Team A one
Team
day.
A1. Because charge was from the Congress Party, that they are the Team B in the, before the formation of the India Alliance.
Okay. How would you respond?
But situation has changed after the formation of the India Alliance. What Arti has said.
See, Sanket,
the relationship between
I'll talk about how what is the buzz on the ground, because I am mostly a field researcher. One, there are collective memory about corruption being an issues and the actions, and we have 3 moments when corruption become the issues and it has an impact upon the government of the day. One was the JP movement, then you have Bofor's issue in the 9th election, Lok Sabha election 89, and then 2011 Anna movement. In all the 3 moments, there were historical moments where corruption became the issue and it led to changing of the government. But in all the 3 moments, a different government came, corruption was brushed aside. No action was taken. Why? Because in Indian politics, there was some sort of inter-elite within the consensus that we won't touch the elites. If you are a big wigs of the party, the secondary and tertiary lines can be touched. For the first time, I am not dismissing the charges that ED is partial or the government is not going after the BJP ruled states, that is there. But for the first time, the perception is that there is a zero tolerance on corruption. It's not just an issue, there is a war on corruption. This is the ground this is the sentiment on the ground. Legal merits may be there politically, be it Bihar issue, be it any other issue. The issue has not prevented Odisha from declaring that they are going to come up with their own data public. So I think in terms of perception, BJP is winning the battle because it's not just the issue, there are concrete actions also.
There are counter perception also, dear.
Majority I am talking about.
There is a counter. How can you say this majority perception or minority perception?
It's interesting that Mr. Sajjan Kumar, on a show, I think a couple of weeks back, you said that the Congress has aced up its narrative building.
Yeah.
But now you say that the perception war is being won by the BJP.
On the ground, the budget.
Okay, yeah, one by one. Sanjay Singh
is a great friend, made some very interesting observations. See, Arvind Kejriwal, putting Arvind Kejriwal as principal challenger, that is in Arvind Kejriwal's mind. In 2019, Arvind Kejriwal party did not win a single Lok Sabha seat. Now they have won after by-election. So at this moment, he is not principal challenger. B, Arvind Kejriwal, what he says and what he is, what he professes and preaches since Anna time. The BJP did not tell him to bury his Wagoner. The BJP did not tell him to kind of refurbish his Sheesh Mahal with 54 crore bill or whatever. And the BJP did not say, they claimed to be political vendetta by the BJP when their minister in their first term or second term, Jiten Singh Tomar, had fake degrees and he claimed those to be true. And then again he was Kattar Imandar and Kattar something. Manish Sisodia and Satyen Jain were kind of eligible, worthy to be given Bharat Ratna and Padam Bhushans. So Arvind Kejriwal is somebody who inflates his perception. He wants to play both a victim and a hero. That is Arvind Kejriwal's issue. The point that you see are the kind of support Arvind Kejriwal got from India Alliance and from opposition parties during Delhi Services Bill. That support is missing at this point in time when Sanjay Singh was arrested. No big leaders have spoken about it, and therefore there is a feeling in both the parties that their alliance, the Aam Aadmi Party alliance and Congress alliance, is not happening in Delhi and Punjab. That is under serious cloud.
I think we are at such a high level. Please talk to Dalits. Sajjan ji is a field reporter. To Dalits, to EBCs, and to the lower half of the OBCs and ask them about retail corruption. Today we are saying that there is a perception that corruption has been wiped out. Yes, maybe in major government contracts, maybe in defense contracts, etc. But if you ask the person at the ground level, well, I don't want to use Aam Aadmi because there is a party there. But if you talk to the common person, the Dalit, the EBC, the OBC, lower half, ask them about corruption. Does anything get done in their lives without some sort of bribery? And I think that if we lose track of that, even on a discussion like this, make it totally political and high level and the arithmetic of it.
Correct.
But there is an underlying mathematics which is completely different, which is the voters.
The Jan-Dhan account and DBT has made a difference even among both sections.
But it is also a fact that there is a great amount of retail corruption which continues to exist, despite all these schemes and all the transparency measures that have been taken. I have run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us on this discussion. News continues on the other side.